and a couple folks that are on the call today weren't on last week's call. This workshop, I learned the bulk of the skills as I went through a management training, not this last summer, but the summer before. And it was provided by a group called Lane 4 Coaching. And they're all former Olympians. And so these are tools that they used either as they did their athletic training to compete in the Olympics or coached someone to train for the Olympics. So they use a lot of sports references. I've backed some of those out. I have a one example using my daughter. But otherwise, I tried to kind of, just make it be more general and not necessarily as sports oriented. The other thing I'll comment as I go through, and if you have a question, please unmute yourself and stop and ask. It's easy for me to talk and talk for 20 minutes or whatever, but it is more fun when it's interactive. So I will pause and give it some time to share ideas and comment back, but please do interject. All right. So again, this is a workshop for us to focus on our values, our vision, our goals, and help you guys have the best year you can have possibly next year. So from an introduction standpoint, I want to kind of walk us through a couple of questions that I think are, important for you to just kind of do a check-in. And so we'll kind of go through these, and I'll pause and have you guys write out the answers, and maybe we'll do a quick share. So the first question is, what in your career or in your personal life are you really proud of? And focus on the thought there of being prideful and feeling, what thing has occurred in your life that you definitely are the most proud of. And then from a work or life component, because I know people have lives outside of work, what motivates you? What specifically gets your gears turning, gets you excited, really motivates you on a day-over-day basis? And then the next question is, what do you feel are your distinctive strengths? So again, thinking, or I don't want to say thinking, feeling with your gut, in your heart, and think about it that way. What do you feel are your strengths there? And then outside of your work or family life, something that's just really oriented around you or things outside of that, what are you the most passionate about?
Marlo, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
I see these on the screen. Did you post them somewhere? Because I looked last night, but I didn't see anything. Is it somewhere that we can print it out? Or are we just going to look at this later and you're just going to kind of read us through it?
No, it is posted. If you go under the files section, it's the first 3 documents and goal getters. There's this presentation, and there's an Excel spreadsheet to print out, and then there's a Word document as well.
Okay. So are we going to work through these tonight, or you're just going to give them to us and we'll work on them later?
I'm trying to give you some pauses where you can fill in the blanks, but this workshop that I'm taking you guys through, we did over the course over 4 hours.
Okay.
So I'm going to condense. So hopefully you guys will find a little bit of quiet time to go back and think through some of the answers further.
Okay, thanks. I won't print it out now, then I'll just reflect. Thank you.
All right. So, the thing that I want to call out here in the introduction, in the words that I've highlighted about proud, motivate, feel, passion, these are all words that are generated from here, from your heart or from your gut. They are not words that are generated from up in your brain, okay? So when you think about setting goals and being focused on reaching those things, you need to energetically work from an area that's aligned into your heart and into your gut. Because what happens is motivation comes from your brain. Your brain is what's motivated and says, hey, this is what we want you to do. But what keeps you going, what keeps you on track and doing things day in and day out are based upon your values. And those values live in your heart and in your gut. They live in different energy centers in your body, okay? So that's kind of the impetus of, you know, how we're structuring this, where we are going to, you know, give you something that's very focused of what you want to accomplish. But again, when you're thinking about those goals and how you're structuring them, you know, really energetically think about what am I passionate about? Where do I feel, you know, what are my greatest distinctive strengths? And, you know, I'll give you an example of, you know, in my career and personal life, I'm definitely really proud of my kids. I think any mom's going to say that. But I think what's really interesting is, you know, I have one daughter that is so motivated around swimming and very focused, and that's not something that I would have ever, you know, believed that that's what would occur. And then another one who's incredibly unique in her own way and is, you know, very artistic and so skilled and other things like that. So, I mean, you know, that energy and pride around my kids and their overarching uniqueness. You know, so just think about different things that way. So the next section we're going to go to is focusing on all those values. So what I created for you guys is basically a value breakout chart. So the way that this works, and this will be something that you're going to have to come back to and spend more time with. You print this out and you want to cut these apart. And so I have the little cards here that they gave me like this. They're little cards. So you're going to organize it just as I've organized it here on the sheet. At one end, it's going to be not important. Then it goes to some importance, quite important, very important, or important, and then or important, quite important, very important. So you'll organize those. And then what I want you to do is move those squares around where they line up to you. And you know, everyone's going to have different values. And again, this is what's going to keep you motivated in the long term towards your goals. So I'm going to pause and give you guys, hopefully for the people that have, I guess I'll double check. How many people were able to print this out and cut it apart? You can kind of wave at me. A few? Okay. So I think what I'll do is I'll give you guys a pause here. And if you can, try and get it organized, you know, where you think things kind of fit. And if you can, let's at the very least align, you know, a few into the very important category. Which ones are lining up for you are very important that you really want to live by. And again, these values are going to show up in your personal life, in your professional life, and, you know, in any way that you're interacting, you know, outwardly as well as, you know, internally with yourself. So I'll go ahead and pause and let you guys kind of organize those out.
Marlo, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
So along the top line, all the blue ones, those are all sort of like one concept, and then amongst those, you're going to divide them in between, ranging from not important to very important. When you said organize them, do you mean each row across?
You're going to cut
each of the things you're going to throw into different categories, so they may not be all equal?
Yeah, so what I want you to do is when you print it out, they'll come out like little individual cards, right, like this. So as you go to organize them, you'll find that there will be some things like there's something on here. I think one of them is risk. I'm like, risk is not one of my values that I'm going to live by. I'm not a risk. I'm like risk adverse. That's going to sit in the not. So the columns would be not important, of some importance, quite important, very important. So you'll move these around. So you may end up, when you finish organizing this, 25 and very important.
Okay, you know, so it's not like we're trying to have a row fit into each of the categories. We're not ranking them. It's just where it fits for you, that particular topic.
Exactly. Okay, yeah. Where does it line up for you?
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
I'm just going to say I am unable to do this specifically right now, but oh my gosh, I'm definitely going to do this because this is so up my alley.
Yeah. Okay.
Me too, Steph. Me too.
I mean, like I'm visually doing it. Oh my gosh, this is like going to be so much fun.
I'm going mad putting like bedtime.
I know.
Yeah. So, and I'll share with you guys, when they took me through this was my aha, where I figured out I was not doing a job that was aligned to my values. And no wonder why I cried every morning in the parking lot before I went into the office, right?
Poor thing.
So it helped me get really clear on what do I want to do on a daily basis, like those values that to work and to, interact. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. It's saying my internet connection's unstable. So as you go through this and you organize it out, again, you may end up with very lopsided columns, and that's okay. Okay. What I will tell you though is once you've finished and got it kind of where it's at, the guidance that these folks gave us is in that very important category, that last one, the one that is the most meaningful. Ideally, you want to make that very important category have about just four values, okay? And the reason for that is it's going to help you get focused. Now, some folks, when they went through the workshop, there's no way I can just have four, and they really, really fought it. But their guidance was try and narrow that down to the four that you can focus in on. And before you lay your head down at night to say, did I live by my values? Did I live and do the things that contribute? So one of the things that was really, interesting to me when I went through this, one of my number one values, one of the purple cards, I don't know what it shows up there, is being an expert. I really like being known as someone with special knowledge or skills like that. I'm like, that's cool to me. And I don't, I would have never known that if I hadn't kind of pieced that out. One value that has adjusted for me since I was able to change jobs and do a reset, that when I did this with my team members, when I did it with my direct reports, that was very common for them. One of their top values was time freedom. This was a big deal. And it's very interesting how people think about time and value time and where does that fall into. So again, it's going to come out and be different for every person. What I'd encourage you to do is once you've gotten this organized, again, for very important, try and narrow it down to four if you can, or, definitely 10 or less for sure. And then I think this is a really good thing to share with the people, on your coaching team. So, for the folks that are diamonds, the people that are below you, you really want to understand those top four values, because that's what's going to motivate those coaches to go to the next level. So when you're working with them, you want to align your conversations around that. So for me, being the expert, and I'm still trying to memorize the ingredients in Shakeology, 7 months later. And that bugs that I still don't have that memorized, right? So those are little things that would help me feel more comfortable and be aligned to that value. One of my other ones that constantly is with me is working with others. That's a big deal. I don't like to work solo. I'm happy to do independent work, but I like people interaction. So if I go a whole day and I don't talk to somebody else, I am a grumpy bugger, right? So this is another thing to kind of understand, again, on that coaching team for the again, from the top line down, understand, how that value alignment is. And then also, how does it, set up with what your values are, and you'll understand how you guys complement each other. So I can think specifically within Jen's team, this is something where we can come back to and kind of share what are our top four core values, how can we complement each other, how can we help each other, is there an area that, another coach can support each other. So very, very important to get clear on your values. And then what I did with this when I was finished with it is I took a picture of it on my iPad. So it's saved there and I can go back and reference it. And I did do a check-in, especially after I changed jobs this last July. And some of my values adjusted a little bit, not the very important ones, but the quite important. There was some change there. So I thought that was interesting too. Okay. So any questions around the values component and how you want to structure that and kind of go through and organize it? Looks like everyone's just, okay. So I'm going to keep going. All right. So the next component that we're going to walk into when we think about.
Quick question.
Yep, go ahead.
That screenshot, I was going to see if I could screenshot on my phone, but we're going to get this somehow, some way, right? That chart. I was trying to zoom in to see.
Yeah, so
columns.
that file, this presentation, the XLS file, and the last Word document I'll share, if you go into Goal Getters under files or documents, it's all there, so you can print it out. Yep.
Great. Thanks. Just want to confirm for everyone who's later gator like me. Thanks.
That's all right. No, that's good. So the next component of this when you're defining a goal is we actually want to first set a vision. And so the vision, the way to look at this is it really is a true expression of what we want. It's our preferred future state. It's very ideal. It's highly optimistic. Again, it's coming from your heart. It's spiritual. And it's really aligned, again, to the things that you value. And moreover, the vision is a picture, okay? And I've read a lot of books around goals and habits here over the last 9 months. And one of the things that I learned, the way our brain works, is that our brain gets engaged based upon a picture. So when you create a vision, you want to actually create a picture first. What does that end state look like? So for me, from my personal journey on this, my vision was I wanted to be able to wear this red dress that I haven't been able to wear in a decade, right? That's how my journey started. And I wanted to be able to wear it without Spanx. I wanted to look sexy. I wanted to look, a variety of different descriptions there, but, I wanted to turn heads. I wanted people to go, way to go. She looks pretty damn good for 44, right? That was my vision. So I was very specific on, being able to attach that in my brain of what do I look like? It wasn't, I wanted to lose 35 pounds or whatever the number was. It was, I want to look really good in that dress. And I also want to feel strong and I want to feel healthy. Okay. So I'll give you an example here. This is my daughter, Riley, right here in the black suit. So she actually has this picture here. This is a photo of the pool that you swim at to qualify for the Olympics in Omaha. This hangs in her room so she can see that. That is her vision. She wants to be on those blocks in 2020. And in order to do that, she's got to be able to swim a certain time, which is basically 1 minute and just right over a minute. Okay. And today she currently swims a 106, 0.06. Okay. So she's pretty close. She's not too far away, but that's her vision. She's very clear on what she's got to do. And now she can, she understands this is what the time is that I've got to do in order to get my body to be here. And then I've kind of outlined it for you. These are as we walk through this goal setting, she's got a lot of what we call process goals and things that she's got to do literally on a day over day basis. So she swims 6 days a week. 5 of those days sometimes are doubles. So she's averaging about 5,000 yards a day. That's a process goal. She's just got to complete and do the work. She's got to sleep 8 to 9 hours. And then she eats. I'd love to say that I've got her on track on nutrition. I got to work on that and help her with that. But that would be another process goal for her. So if she maps this out by the time 2020 rolls around, she's got about 1,300 days to train. So she's going to swim close to 7 million yards by the time that comes around. She's going to sleep about 10,000 hours, etc. Okay. So when you think about that goal, again, get the vision, get very clear in your head. What does it look like? Where do I want to be? How am I going to feel? And then I'm going to walk you through, here are all the things that you've got to do on a day over day, week over week basis to get you to that end state. But you've got to be very clear, what does it look like? So this is the goal model that we're going to walk through here. So that goal outcome, again, this is it's highly motivational. And again, I'd encourage you to make sure it's a picture, and we're going to associate some feeling and values to it. And then from there, we're going to create performance goals. This is the measurable what aspect of the goal model. So these are performance goals that you can reference against yourself. And what's interesting is you can achieve these performance goals and you may not achieve the outcome, okay? I see this happen a lot, especially in a sales world, where somebody may, hit a lot of these performance goals and even process goals, but not get the eventual outcome, like they want to end up at, sales club or, millionaires club or whatever it is. But they don't quite make it there, but they can hit a lot of these others. So just be aware that is a possibility. And then the last level of this are the process goals. And this is where you're in control. This is the how. This is what you're going to do on a day over day, week over week basis, and really assess. And some of these things may not be completely easy, measurable things, but this is the details, and this is what matters. For us, I would say on the Beachbody side, this is the 4 vital behaviors here, that this is where they live, is in our process goals. So did you do your 10 minutes of, reading and contributing to yourself? Did you invite? Did you follow up? Those types of things are living down here in the process goal area. And then that contributes up to the performance goals of, potentially, hitting certain sales targets or improving rank and those types of things. So that's how it kind of feeds up. Does that make sense from a model perspective? I just want to make sure I explain that clearly for everybody. I'm thinking, okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up. All right, so I'm gonna keep going. So this is one where we're going to stop and pause, and I'd like you guys to, think about that vision. Some people love to draw. I am not a draw person. I am a go screenshot it and paste it in kind of girl, but whatever makes you happy. But think about the vision. What is that end state? And you also kind of want to associate the timeline to it, of when you'd like to realize that. And I think someone just asked me a question. So, oops, sorry guys. Oops. I was trying to get up to the chat and I think I've messed it up. So sorry. All right, so we'll pause here. Think about your vision. If you've got it printed off, go screen capture and check out, what do you want to put here? The other thing that I'd encourage you to do is to write along the edges the way you want to feel while you're trying to achieve this vision. So as I shared with you, when I was thinking about wanting to be able to get into that red dress, I wanted to feel sexy. I wanted to feel strong. I wanted to feel healthy. I wanted to feel empowered. So anything else from a feeling perspective, I would encourage you to put that along the edges as well.
Margot?
Yep.
I have a question. It's Sibel. Did they encourage you when you went through this workshop to just pick one area of your life to set this vision for, or is this a big picture vision? Like it was, your vision was the red dress, so that was about your physical and then that's mental too, but your weight loss journey as opposed to career or, vision for your children's lives, or, there's so many aspects of our lives, spiritual, family,
right,
financial, I could go on. And I'm just curious how specific this should be, or do they not? Is it up to you?
Yeah, I think it's up to you. I did do a course with Michael Hyatt this year on goal setting, and I'll just be super frank, I didn't finish it because I got so sidetracked on I'm very focused on my health and wellness, that I didn't finish and do the other kind of goals that I had aligned for myself. So what I've read and understand from his workshops, as well as from some others, I'm doing Danielle Laporte's right now too. You probably don't want to have more than 5 big kind of transformative type of things to be chasing, because it's just hard to manage. So, and you can kind of think about it from, like you said, spiritual, and then there's kind of a lifestyle, area, a health, spiritual. So I'm happy to give you guys further guidance on how you may want to kind of chunk this out, like into different components. But, I definitely wouldn't tell you to create, 10 different visions. That would be really hard to go after. But I think if you organize, 3 to 5, I think that's very doable to tackle over the course of 12 months. Does that help, Sibel?
Yeah, thanks. I was just trying to think about, it helps a lot. I was just trying to think about like that push goal concept, and maybe you pick 1 or 2 goals that will make the other goals happen, or it's hard to figure out, what your top 1, 2, or 3 goals are. So maybe sometimes it's that domino effect you can look at to see which is the one that's going to push all the other ones.
Yep. Yeah. And the other thing that I'll say, in any of these workshops that I've gone through, and we'll talk about, hey, let's review progress and look back. The other thing that I'll tell you all is that when something isn't going according to plan, it isn't going according to vision or process or whatever, it's okay to drop a goal. You're actually learning from that process. So, that's the other thing as you start to organize this, things may be occurring in your life where you've got 3 or 5 that are set up that are really important to you. And then something, dramatic changes in your life and you've got to adjust, it's just got to be willing to roll with that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So again, that vision is a picture organized with feelings around that. So now comes our specific focus. This is the outcome. And again, this is, it's going to be, motivational. And you want to be as specific as you can around this. So I just put an example here, that, maybe my vision, ultimately that I'm creating, for myself is that, by, October of this coming year, I'd like to be at diamond status. And so the aligned vision to that is, that there's probably some more financial benefit for me. And, how do I, what does that look like? But definitely would, alleviate, some burdens from my family and things like that. So, this is what, again, it's just an example of something, but you want to make it be specific, have it be as, measurable in some way, and then time bound. Okay. So very similar to what we've all learned from typical SMART goals in this sense. So, you'll want to, make that as specific as you can be. And I'll give you guys a few minutes to think about that. You want to come wave at him, Rai? Come wave? No? I just use one of the Ziploc bags. You can use a little one. There should be ones with a zipper on it that you can use. All right. So now we'll move on to the performance goals. And this, again, is the what. And these are measurable. So you can define performance goals that are going to help you achieve the outcome, that outcome goal. And again, you may reach performance goals, but you may not reach that ultimate outcome goal. But we want to be, again, as specific as possible with the performance goal. So, for me, for example, would be, that I'd like to, in order to get to diamond status, I think you've got to have, I think it's 8 coaches total, if I'm remembering numbers correctly. And if I look at that time frame to get it to be by October, which is that's 10 months away. So I've got 10 months to get 8 coaches. So I've got to add 2 coaches a month over the next, 8 months. That would get me to that goal. So that could be a performance goal number 1, right? Just purely from that coaching standpoint. And then a performance goal number 2 that it could also contribute to that I may also want to look at just, how many, we always talk about how many people do you want to help per month? And, the guidance is always to try and help 3. Maybe I want to, adjust that for myself specifically in order to reach that ultimate vision to say, that the next performance goal is, instead of helping 3 people a month, I want to help 4. So you'll want to be specific here to try and articulate what do those performance goals look like. So I'll pause and let you guys kind of noodle on those a little bit. My daughter's dancing in the bathroom. I'm trying not to laugh. Sorry, guys. She's very excited. She's packing to go to a major swim meet tomorrow. She's swimming at Junior Nationals. So
Marla, I think that is so cool. Like about your daughter. Very cool.
yeah, she's pretty jazzed. I won't lie. She's feeling pretty foxy. She's laughing at me now. All right. So the next thing we'll move on from performance goals are process goals. And this is where the control comes in. And process goals, I want you to be as specific as you can be. And these can be daily things that you want to do, weekly, monthly, as anything that you can think of that's going to contribute, again, back up to that performance. And I think one of the interesting things here on the process goals, and I just finished listening to the book Mini Habits, this is a really interesting place to apply a mini habit, especially if you're feeling really uncomfortable with, how do I start? Okay, so if, maybe you're really struggling with inviting 5 people every day over day just seems like it's insurmountable. This would be a really good place to create a process goal, just to say, I'm going to invite 1 person every day. And, that's going to take me 2 minutes, right? And when you break it down to something really small and really simple, it makes it much harder for your brain to argue with you about getting it accomplished. In the book Mini Habits, he talks about wanting to lose weight and get fit. So he started a mini habit of just doing 1 push-up every day. And by the time he would get down and do the 1 push-up, he was already down on the floor. He said, maybe I'll do another, and I'll do another. But he never failed to miss and just do that 1 push-up. So again, when you think about these process goals, I would encourage you to try and simplify them in such a way that it makes it hard for your brain to argue, to say you can't get that done. The simpler you make them, the easier it will be for you to be able to manage and control them and accomplish them. And then as you get more comfortable with them, you may want to adjust and maybe increase the volume, again, by invites or other things. But this is the aspect here where, again, you're controlling it and you can really simplify it. Again, if you're doing it day over day and week over week, you should see results just from these simple process goals. So I'll pause and let you kind of think through a couple of things that you would want to organize from a process goal standpoint.
Hi, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the performance goals are the small things that will have to happen in order for me to reach my big goal. And the process goals are the small things that I have to do to get to the what?
They're going to get to the performance goals. So if I take you back up to this one here, so the process goals, I'd almost outline your process goals like these are going to be like your habits. What are you going to do day over day or week over week that you're going to, kind of, again, not have to really think about like, yep, I'm going to invite 2 people. Yep, I'm going to follow up with 3 challengers. Yes, I'm going to do my own workout. Yes, I'm going to do my 10 minutes of, reading or, self-reflection or whatever you want to do. And if you're doing those process goals day over day, those habits, then that contributes up to those, what I'm going to call the performance goals, the measurable things of, okay, if you did all those process goals, hopefully it does contribute to the fact that you did sign 2 new coaches this month. You did you were able to help, 4 challengers through, challenge packs or, something like that. So does that make sense, Kathy, how it goes back up?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next part of this is to think about the action that you want to take. And again, this is where your brain's going to argue, this seems too hard, this seems too big, et cetera, et cetera. So my best advice that I've seen, especially when I work with my sales teams, is you want to chunk it out. Because if you're thinking about, hey, this is all that I've got to do by October of next year or 12 months away, it just seems like it's daunting. So if you can, simplify it to say, what do I want to do in the next 10 days? And kind of reflect upon that. And that's kind of, again, back organized to these process goals. You're going to pull some of these things forward. And in the next 10 days, what can you institute in that kind of action plan? And then as you build it out, and you may say 10 days is even too big for me. Maybe I just need to think about what I'm going to do for the next 3 days. That's cool too. People manage time and feel comfortable with time in very different ways. So if you need a different time frame, I'd encourage you to adjust that. But then you want to kind of just chunk it out to kind of understand, how am I progressing? And you also, these are good checkpoints. So this would be the other part that I would share, from the folks that are the leaders on our team. This is the action plan that you probably want to review with your downline coaches and just understand what are they planning to do in the next 10, 30, 60 days, and how can you help them? And likewise, those of us that are downline, be honest about, here's what I'm going to do, so you can be held accountable for it too, just like we do with our accountability groups, and we're in there and we're posting and we're talking about it. This helps us, have that written out. And again, I'd encourage you to write this out. That was one of the big resounding things that I heard from the Michael Hyatt sessions I went through, from Mini Habits. I'm trying to think of Gretchen Rubin's book that I read. You've got to write this stuff out. If you don't write it down, it's not going to click in here. Okay. So it can't just live up in your head. You can't just think about it. You've got to write it out and preferably share it with others. And I know that you're exposing yourself, and there's a level of vulnerability around that, but that's really, really important as well, to help you progress towards things. So, I think I have a question coming in from the swimmer. Hold on one second. Yes. I think we're going to leave at 5 a.m. Okay. All right. So again, this, if you need to adjust the time frames, definitely do it. I just did this as an example because I felt like, these time frames were doable for myself personally, but you all can definitely adjust those as you need to, and then extend it as far out as you need to from a process goal standpoint. How often do you want to check in? The next thing on here that you're going to want to outline is, how do you want to stay accountable? Who are you going to speak to? What kind of cadence are you going to have around these conversations or meetings? I know that there's a lot of coaches on the call that have an accountability partner, so that really helps you. For those of us that don't have that, we need to kind of dig in and figure out, what am I going to do in order to have conversations around this in order to move forward? And how are you going to measure to understand your progress? Again, on that daily side, on a weight loss journey, it's really easy to see. Did the tape measure change? Did the scale change? Some of these other things that you may, define a vision for. And maybe it's not really about the business. Maybe it's, you want to work on, your marriage or something like that, so you're going to have to, kind of assess how do you want to measure and understand the progress. And then the next question on here, I always put this out here: what will you do or change if you find you're not making progress? I'd already asked yourself that question right now, even before you start, to say, what does that look like? Does it really mean that am I going to ask for more help? Am I going to try other resources? What else would you potentially do if you're not seeing the progress that you want? And put some ideas down there. Because I think this is the part where I see most people just say, after they do a 30 or 60 day check-in and they didn't get the progress they want, and they quit, right? And that doesn't necessarily make sense because they didn't try other things that would potentially help them make progress. So I think being real clear about asking for additional help or researching other resources or things like that, you want to kind of outline that. So if you get stuck, you've already thought about it a little bit and it doesn't seem like it's so hard to go and try that. Okay. All right. So the next thing is celebrate your progress. And I know this is something that Beachbody has also instituted to say, we want to recognize when someone's doing a really good job, we want to recognize that. And so this aspect of self-recognition, I would encourage you all to write out a list. And then I would print this sucker off and put it on your refrigerator or someplace where you're going to see it every day. Because again, along with those values, when you're thinking, hey, I want to live these values, you're also going to say, I want to be rewarded. Okay. So there may be different rewards as you progress through, and reach different process goals and those types of things. So I'd be as specific as you can here. I mean, maybe, just an example is, if I'm able to set up the next 2 coaches by the end of January, I'm going to do, a 1-day yoga retreat up at an ashram in Netherlands, and like, that's a treat for me. That's a huge treat. So think about things that way that you can, celebrate and really reward your progress. Things that you really enjoy. It could be, just something like going and getting a massage and things like that. Whatever is inspiring to you. But I'd list out, several of those things, or even better, if there's a picture of something. Again, your brain, engaging on a picture. Snap a picture of it and paste it in here. And this can be your, celebration thing that you're going to go and, you can go circle to say, hey, that's the thing that I'm going to get to go do to celebrate, my progress here. So I'll give you a moment to think about some things that you'd want to put on that list.
Marlo, can you hear me?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, while we're taking notes on that, just a couple things you said in the last Actually, I'm going to hold up 1 second. Let me unplug my. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I just thought it was really important when you talked about accountability. And if you don't have an accountability partner and you're on this call, I really think talk to your upline, because they can match you up with someone that's may not even on their downline. It's just we have a large team and we have a lot of coaches that don't have accountability partners, and they can make all the difference with you staying on track with all these goals that you just wrote out. And really help you. It's the type of business that and I think it's one of your very important things, when you interact with people, like you could not talk to any Beachbody person for like weeks on end, right? If it wasn't calls. And it can get really lonely and really discouraging, and it shouldn't. It should be a fun process. So make sure that that all of you, I encourage you to get an accountability partner. As I said, we have so many coaches and they are looking for people. And so talk to your upline, and I will do a post about it this week in Goal Getters as well. And we have coaches, we always say it doesn't have to be like your first accountability partner. It's like going on a blind date. It doesn't have to be the one that you end up with and you end married to. We have coaches on our team that, they talk about serial dating accountability partners, and then they found one. They're like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Finally, third time's a charm or fourth time's a charm. But I encourage you, because you need each other to celebrate, and to also, like, you're having a bad day and you've gotten like 3 people that say no to you and you're like, I can't do this anymore. They're the ones that are going to hold you up and say, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. And you're going to be there for them as well. So I just thought that was a good point, and I wanted to add that in because it's so, so important.
Yeah, I think I think probably the biggest challenge we have is that we are a dispersed virtual team, okay? Mm-hmm. And so my experience in being a manager for a decade, it was very easy for me to manage people and build that team rapport when we were all in Denver together, okay? But when my dynamic changed and I had 2 people in Denver, I had 2 people in Seattle, I had 2 people in Canada, I had people everywhere. So it became really important for me to figure out, how do I connect these people with each other? And so we rotated on a quarterly basis. So we kind of did, dating that way, so people could get to learn about everybody on the team, to build that team dynamic and support. So again, I think that the individual accountability to somebody else, it's very helpful, and especially when you can feel really isolated, and that's not fun, right? It's just not fun.
It's not fun. And if you're the type of person that thrives on a little competition, there's something about being able to text your accountability person and be like, so I invited a couple of people today. How about you? And, that's how I motivate. I'm like, oh shit. Like, I just get on it. So it really does help you. So.
All right. So on this last page, I've got just some recommended reading and learning here. These are some of the books that I've read or listened to. I'm a big Audible person. So The Compound Effect, by far and away, probably was the most impactful to me, and really thinking about, if you do this day over day, here's going to be the outcome. And maybe it's not an outcome you see in 3 months or 6 months, but it's an outcome you see in 12 months or 3 years. And I kind of look at this going, eventually, and I just talked to another coach. She happens to be a Gamma Phi, Jen, Corey Tice. I don't know if you remember her. She was a CLC that came to Beta Rho. She's retired her husband. She was telling me all about it. And I just fell out of my chair, and I'm like, but it took her 2.5 years to get to that point, So this book to me was huge. I just finished Mini Habits, and that one was helpful in really thinking about, how do you break something down so your brain stops arguing with you? Presence by Amy Cuddy, again, just talks about how the brain works. And presentation. So I think a lot of us, when we're talking to people and how we're working with them, it was insightful. Better Than Before is by Gretchen Rubin. And again, it's a habits book, and she categorizes people in different ways. This one to me was very helpful in understanding my challengers better, and how do I support my challengers. And then Simon Sinek's Start With Why. This one kind of contributes back to the value, what is our, what's your personal value? And he talks about that value from a company perspective, but it's helpful. And then there's some MOOCs, and this one is really, this is like the dopiest course ever, but I swear to God, it was really interesting. It's called Learning How to Learn, and it talks again about how your brain works and how it breaks things down. And it's very helpful when you're trying to learn something new and apply that information. So I think for a lot of us that are new to coaching and new to health and nutrition, it's a good quick course. And it's free. And Coursera is the company that offers this, and they offer a lot of other free courses too that I'd encourage you to check out. But that one in particular was helpful. So I think that's the end of the presentation. So the other thing that I'll change over to is, this is kind of a monthly success tracker. And again, this comes back to kind of celebrating and looking back. And I'd encourage you guys to use this with accountability partners or in your upline. So you want to just kind of outline, so the things that I accomplished, these would be the process goals. And you can have more than 3. I just did that because it fits well on my sheet of paper here. So you may want to, move this over into a journal or whatever makes the most sense for you. And then the next question in here is, why is that cool? Like, what's awesome about that? Like, let's feel good about it. Again, let's celebrate it. And then next steps. Does anything need to change? Do I need to do anything differently? Is there something I should dig in more on? Do I need to just quit doing that? Anything like that, just be clear on what needs to change. And then for the next month, for that next, 30-day check-in or whatever your time frame is, what are your priorities? And outline those. Okay. So to say, okay, for January, my priorities are these 3 things. This is what I care about. And then the next question on here is to say, if life gets nuts, out of these 3 things, what is the one thing I've got to do and accomplish so I feel really good about myself, so I feel proud? And I'd highlight that, or, draw hearts and smiley faces, whatever, however you want to call that one out. But again, that's something that if you're writing that out, saying this is important, this is a priority for me, and maybe even, script it out to say it aligns to this value, align it to that why for you. It will help make sure that you're staying focused on that. The next section I outlined here are people that you want to reach out to, follow up, thank, or partner with. So I think we all probably have a list of our challengers that we're following up with. What I'd encourage you to do here are people kind of outside of that network. And something that I've been trying to do is find other coaches, especially that are local here to Colorado. I think that was probably the big gap for me, is that there aren't a lot of local Colorado coaches, and I'd really like to have some more in my network. So I've been spending a lot of time networking with other Colorado coaches, and just, trying to build my network that way. So I feel, some support here locally. But there may be other people that you want to, network with or partner with that you'll want to outline. And then the last thing here on this last page is the bonus. Who do I want to be this month? How do I want to feel? Again, this comes back up to that original place where I started us from that vision. How do you want to feel? What are your values? This is one of my favorite things to do. I get all these running magazines and all sorts of stuff like that. So I'm going to grab something really quick and I'll share it with you guys. So one of my favorite things to do is I make little collage boards with cool words, like this is how I want to feel. So this is my example of something that I do that keeps me very, very motivated, and it sits in my office so I can see it day over day. So, I mean, there's words on here, to be the best me, the word beautiful, a hero lies in all of us, so different things like that. This was a really easy way for me to kind of articulate, because I'm not super artistic, a way for me to kind of articulate how do I want to feel, on a day over day basis. And that may change, from month to month. So I've got a few of these that I've made over the course of a few months, but this is a fun thing to do. If you have little kiddos, this is a fun project for them. And again, you can do it on paper versus on a art thing. So, all right. So that's my super fast workshop in an hour, 4 hours of content. Hopefully you guys were able to take away some goodness from this. I'm happy to spend more time one-on-one with anybody if you want more help working through any of the components that I outlined for you. Are there questions I can answer right now?
I did record it, so anyone can go back and rewatch it, and I'll also post it in Goal Getters tomorrow.
Yeah, this is awesome, Marlo. I definitely am excited to spend some time and jump into these things and delve into them.
Okay. Well, thank you all for your time tonight. I really do appreciate it. And if there's things that I can do to help you, directly one-on-one, don't be shy. I love this stuff. I really do. I geek out on this stuff. Obviously, how many books have I read about how your brain works and goal setting? It's ad nauseum, right? So just let me know.
Great. This is the time to do it, you guys. I'm gonna really spend some time this week and this weekend, because if you start goal setting in January, the month is gone. Now, goal set now, and bam, you're there. Other people are figuring it out on January 2nd. You're already done. So this is good stuff. Thank you so much, Marlo.
Thanks, Marlo. Awesome. Really
You're
good.
welcome.
Good stuff.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
Bye, everybody.
We'll not have a team meeting next week because we're doing a local fit club here in Southern California, which I wish you would all come to. It would be really great. But
Marsha, what workout are we doing?
Well, I don't know. I think, we can talk about that. I mean, quarter force is always a good one, but I'm also open. There's a new 21-day fix program up right now, so we could do something like that.
Or we could all bring our mats and do BBL.
We probably do that 21-day fit.
Come on, BBL.
But it's a great space, and we're really lucky that Jenny Shen has so graciously opened up her church to us, because it's awesome. So yeah. So
All right.
Okay. Thanks, you guys. Everyone have a great night.
You too.
Good night.
Take care.
Bye. Good night.